Hi, folks. I want to talk to you about our kids. Uh, this is a very relevant topic. It's applicable to adults as well. So I spent the morning meditating. I try and take as much time as I can to do intermittent meditations and just ground myself and feel what my body's experiencing. Um, I'm a PTSD sufferer. I'm a trauma survivor, whatever that may be. But the mind of trauma patients, and patients such an ugly word, but of trauma sufferers is vastly different to that of other people. And the reason I'm bringing this up now is because after my meditation this morning, I've sat down and I had a few things that I noticed, and this will definitely be playing out with our children in particular, and 90% plus of our adults as well. As adults, I know we don't like to admit that we struggle or that we are suffering or that we are vulnerable. So I'll just talk in terms of children because we can see our kids and maybe try and help them. So, in a personal experience, is from the damage that trauma or PTSD trauma has done, and the rehabilitation that I work on, is you tend to get stuck in that fight or flight. So it's we call them triggers, or I call them triggers, and you get stuck in the fight or flight. And when you are in an environment of flight or fight, you are unable to have any real cognitive or rational thinking. So all the thinking's coming back here, and there's triggers going danger, danger, and your entire uh, system is just based on survival. So if you think about a war, or if you're attacked by someone, or there's a really traumatic event, you don't have time to sit and think or do maths or chess calculations. And you are there to survive, and everything shuts down, and you just go survive. Now, what this COVID thing has done to our world basically is it's taken society and it's ramped everyone up from here to about here. South Africans in particular, we live a very stressed life. We live a very frightened life because we have incredible crime, and incredible worries that people have to deal with on a normal day. And now the government's gone and thrown in this COVID hype, and I believe that the government are making a meal of it, and we aren't actually managing and dealing with people as it should be. Our government aren't very aware of this. They aren't very sophisticated in any of this, and the way that they come across the people just tends to hype up more. So our president walks in and he goes with immediate effect, and immediately everyone will panic. And it's not the way to deal with things, in my opinion. But let's get back to where I wanted to go with this. Is so in the fight or flight zone. You'll find that you'll be reactive and you'll be concentrating on the big picture. You'll be concentrating on outward. Now, I find myself it affects me with my work in that if I'm in the fight or flight, or I'm in the trauma zone, I'd wake up, I'd sit down, and I'm able to function at an incredible level in activism, in reading medical reports, in putting together processes to work on the problem at hand. I suppose that's why I've got a particular talent for my career, but I can look at things, pick them apart, put them together. So when I sit in the morning and we've got the COVID, I can put everything together that's COVID and identify what is COVID and what should be worried about and what shouldn't. And I got systems that I run through on that. So that's a response to the stimulus from out there. So when COVID struck, immediately did research and I bought chloroquine for my family, and the antibiotics and all the supplements were ordered, and I had everything pre-packed. And if this happened, this is how I'd respond. If that happened, that how I'd respond. So that's pretty much how my mind works. And then I sat today when I do my meditation, and I dropped down into my body, and I could feel I manifest tremendous bodily aches and pains, and it aches and numbness. And I sat with that, and then I came and sat down again in my study here, and I've got a little reports to do. And I realized that when I'm in the trauma zone, then you're unable to have those daily faculty processes. You can't do uh, or access your frontal thinking. You can't do the reports. You can't sit down and have your critical thinking. You can't just do your admin. And for my whole life, I've always battled. And when I've been really good, I do exceptional things. But other times, I struggle just to even do the very basic minimum. And that's just the trauma mind. Now, I know we drop down into that space, and that's where you can work. So I'm looking at our kids now, and in particularly our children. And our children are suffering, and wearing masks and social distancing for children who don't have a high exposure to this virus. It's shown. I think we are doing more damage to our children by keeping them out of schools, by making them wear masks, by not letting them play, by not letting them be children, by making them stand in little circles. Um, because to a child, that isn't a natural environment or a natural action for a child. And anything outside of that is going to be flagged in the child's mind as something is wrong. So children are also very susceptible, and they pick up on parental cues a lot. So parents might think that their children don't know that they're arguing, but a lifetime of passive aggressive behavior between two parents, even though they're not screaming and shouting, they think the children aren't picking up, that kid's going to grow up very damaged because the children pick up on everything. So our kids are sensing our fear now. Our kids are, and it's from a tiny level even, that they're picking up something's wrong. They sense there's danger. They know they can't go out. Everyone's wearing masks, which must terrify them. They have to wash their hands all the time, and all these measures now have put our little children into fight or flight. This is my belief, and our children now are going to be struggling. And my message to parents is we need to just sit with our kids, and you need to just work with them at maybe just mindfulness behavior exercises, playing on swings, just holding them, loving them, laughing at them when they get home from school. Play with them. I know it's hard as parents to do this because we are absolutely buggered ourselves. We are at a tipping point, but our children, we aren't going to get anything really out of them. And don't expect much from your children right now because our little souls, they're sitting there and they are functioning in their fight or fight. They know something's wrong. They can't understand it. They can't verbalize it, but they're in their own little panic. So at school, don't expect your children to really excel in this. Don't put pressure on them academically. Don't put pressure on them for anything, in fact. Um, just nourish them and be kind to them and hold them. And then, as parents, let's start doing a bit of concerted effort here for this mask mandate and these absolute ridiculous rules. I would rather my daughter live a happy, comfortable, healthy life than be put through all the shit that they're being put through now. It's having profound impacts on her. It's a little girl who used to run around like you cannot believe, and she wouldn't sit still, and she was always out and always giggling. And now my daughter's a lot more subdued because she misses the old world, and she has emotional breakdowns because she is experiencing a trauma, and the system and our country and our parents and all of us aren't actually noticing the plight of our children. And I think after my 8 minutes of rambling here, let's notice the plight of our children. And let's just put some pressure on our government now, on this Mkhize chap and this council of fools, to actually change this now, because you aren't managing it properly. You're damaging our children. And if anything, we should be taking care of our children. Madiba always said children will come first. So let's take care of the children of this country and let's dump all these mask mandates. Asymptomatic transmission through kids, it's highly, highly rare, highly unlikely. They don't need masks. They don't need social distancing. They need to be children. We are going to raise a nation of damaged little souls. And then to parents as well, if you listen to what I've said about our kids, understand that you're also in the same boat. So there's all these things and these existential threats that are being thrown at us right now. And there's the sheer pressure of having life and to homeschool and all these things that we've been burdened with. So just do be kind to yourselves. Do take out time to just sit and be. Practice belly breathing. We need to just ramp everything down because where we are now, the level of chaos and fear is so high, it is going to do untold damage. And I'm fairly confident that a lot of the illnesses that are being experienced now are immune systems collapsing. And it's a burden of fear that's being placed upon our people. So I know that it came from a tangent, but it's a realization that I had, and it's something that I had lost track of inside this whole year of or 300 days of lockdown. So we had 21 days, and 21 days takes a minimum time for a basic neural pathway to settle. So 21 days into the lockdown, I WhatsApped my mates and said, "Welcome to the first level of fear," because that little wire, that little neural net pathway, that's it's there. And since then, every day it's just been entrenched and threatened and strengthened and strengthened. And it's going to take a lot of work for us to get through this and to get out of these habits that we've developed. So as parents, my plea to you is, let's start pushing back now and let's stop this mask mandate. Let's stop these rules. Let's stop them from our kids going to school. Our children's lives are the most important. Secondary is, we need to start looking at ourselves as well. And we need to start understanding that we are also going to be in a fight or flight. And as employers, as husband, wives, brothers, sisters, friends, start looking at each other with more compassion and more care, because understand that everyone are deer in the headlights mode, and people are going to be doing irrational things. And again, our government, I don't understand your okay, I don't understand anything from you. But if you do this to people, they're going to drink more. If you traumatize people, they're going to drink more. There's going to be more reactions. And then what you're going to do is you're taking away the crutch, and then you're releasing it back to them, and then they're going to go berserk. And then you're going to go, that's terrible, and you're going to take away, and then you're going to let it go again, and they're going to go berserk. There's no steady medium from government in treating the people here. It's just one wave of trauma after the next. It's an absolute shocking job. And I honestly wish that we had a better government who would take better care of our people. But my primary concern now is for our children. Let's start taking care of them. Let's get rid of this mask. Let's get them back to school. And for our people, just to take a deep breath and just let's start treating each other with a bit more love, a bit more humility, a bit more kindness, because everyone is traumatized right now. Whether they think it or whether they want to believe it or not, there is a level of trauma throughout our country, throughout the globe, in fact. And it's a collective subconscious area that's just buzzing at the moment. You don't have to believe it. You believe it if you want to, but this is what's happening at the moment. And I want everyone just to take a deep breath and let's just start taking care of our kids and start being kind to each other. And let's just unmask this nation now and let's just do away with this lockdown, please.